Welcome to rSlash. Today I effed up, where OP leaves a rock stuck in his ear for 13 years. Today I effed up by pranking my girlfriend. Yesterday, I decided to prank my girlfriend by pretending to be my twin brother. Super random, I know, but I've always wondered if I could fool her into thinking I was him. It was time. So there I was, approaching my house and ringing my doorbell completely in character. I was wearing torn denims and Converse sneakers, the complete opposite of what I normally wear, but exactly the style to match my bro. I was walking like him, talking like him, sounding like him. Heck, even smelling like him. My girlfriend eventually opened the door and saw deepfake me standing there. Regardless of how well prepared I was to play my twin brother, the moment I locked eyes with my girlfriend, I expected her to see right through my facade. She stared at me, confused. At first I wasn't sure if that was because she knew it was me, or because she was surprised to see it's my brother. There was only one way to find out. I said hi and dropped the "I was in the neighborhood" line. My girlfriend suddenly pulled me inside and slammed the door shut.
"Are you out of your effing mind showing up here like this?"
Thought I'd visit.
"And I thought we agreed to stop seeing each other."
What do you mean?
"What the F do you mean? What do I mean? Whatever that stuff was between us, it's over. Go home to your fiancé."
Enough. It's me, your boyfriend.
"You don't know when to give up, do you?"
I showed her my ID. I'd never seen so many mixed emotions flash across her face until that moment. At first, she tried to play it off like she was in on the act all along, and this whole interaction was nothing more than a cheating girlfriend narrative she fabricated on the spot just to mess with me. I wasted no time calling my brother and effing forcing a confession out of him. This mother effer admitted to seeing my girlfriend on and off behind my back for months. When that call ended, so did my relationship with both of them. This is like all those clickbait YouTube videos. Hilarious prank on my girlfriend. Gone wrong. Gone sexual. Today I effed up by putting a rock in my ear, then leaving it for roughly 13 years. Bit of context, I was a fairly dumb 9-year-old at the time this happened. I'm 26 now. Well, it begins at a smallish outside family gathering on my dad's side. My parents split up some few years earlier, and my mom had primary custody. And I had spaced myself from the other children and took up refuge beneath the adult table. It's where I got to hear all the awful rumors and jibber jabs, so why not, right? While I sat amongst the rubble and dirt, I had this amazing idea to put pebbles in the ridge of my ear now and again, and treat them individually like a car on a racetrack. Again, I wasn't bright. Well, I drove one of those stones right into my ear canal. That said, I flipped out at the idea that this object slid into my ear and suddenly I can't remove it. Not a single adult was even aware I was under the table by this point because, of course, all the brats were locked in the backyard. So when this screech of terror left my mouth, all that was heard otherwise would have been knees against the table and diningware clattering. I lost my mind. My dad yanked me up and immediately took me to the bathroom and started the hydrogen peroxide treatment to the ear, assuming it was just a panic attack, and that it was earwax agitating my eardrum or something. Probably not the most keen reaction, but the thought process was sound. Whatever, really. Either way, after what seemed like hours, him, his mother, brothers, and sisters reassured me it was fine, saying it probably fell out and that I was overreacting. Okay, sure. Let's skip ahead a bit. It was roughly a 2-year span between 14 and 16, and I'm in high school. This is where the real fun begins. Equilibrium issues emerge, sprinkles of lost balance mostly. I could no longer submerge my head in water for more than a few seconds. High and low pressures made me sick. Plus, general discomfort over little things like showering, sleeping, traveling. Was a nightmare, really. I get to thinking about things and grab a simple paperclip and bend it straight, putting a little loop on the end before fishing around my ear for that imaginary rock I had long ago forgotten. All I hear is scrapes. Squish, squirt, shh. I'll admit, I immediately started to panic before running off to my mom, who rightfully rushed me to the hospital, while demanding why she hadn't been told up until now. That's another topic entirely. Well, wouldn't you know though, the doctor said I was faking, examined my ear and said I just had compacted earwax and was likely trying to get out of school. Right. It was probably June at the time. My mom didn't really believe him, but I decided, balls to it, let's get some hydroperoxide because F hospitals really. Skip along the years a bit more. I'm 18 and I know for a fact there's something in my freaking head. I'm losing it. So I hit the hospital again, and this time the doctor outright states there's definitely blockage. I'm not sure if it's a rock, but I can certainly try to help. So this professional pulled out this gnarly looking pair of scissor hemostats and gets to just having an absolute way with my ear canal, trying to get a grip on this smooth object. It was audio torture, hands down. Rubbing steels to granite, but centimeters from your eardrum, and this went on for at least 4 minutes, until my ear began to bleed lightly. The end results? You'll need to see a specialist. The specific type eludes me, but basically it was the same guy that removes peanuts from toddlers' nasal cavities. I'll admit right now, my choices here forward were super dumb. The sight of my ear bleeding sent me off the deep end, and I began refusing all help entirely, only trying to remove it myself from that point on, and truthfully just torturing myself when I reflect back. Let's time jump one last time. I'm 22, couple of months away from 23. I have a wonderful girlfriend, things are great, but headaches have developed and are a reoccurring thing. However, my balance issues have been basically worked out. Great. But now, out of the blue, I'm losing hand-eye coordination. Well, man, you know? I attribute it to the rock in my effing skull. I lost it yet again and went on a rampage this time, demanding my girlfriend give me all her dental and dermal tools so that I could dig this chunk of earth out myself. This was the beginning, in some sense, to my 20-minute conquest to become a pro surgeon. And I locked myself away to be alone, working and prodding these weird little hooped rods around my ear, mostly loosening wax and grinding against the round sides of the admittedly small stone. Eventually, the rod's end slipped absurdly close to my eardrum and wrapped around the rock. In an instant, I froze, but my heart began pounding through my chest. Jackpot. Now, you see, this is a difficult feeling to explain in person, let alone through text. The pain from pulling this earwax lathered object from my ear canal was like a migraine, shifting from my left ear to my right, while in the same sense, it felt like I was passing a kidney stone from my skull. All in all, 2 out of 10, wouldn't do again. But now, it's totally out and I've put it away in a Ziploc bag. I had no real recovery issues, I guess. As soon as the rock was out, my hearing was incredible in the 1 year, for an entire day. Now, it just rings occasionally. My balance won't ever be the same, I feel, but it's fine enough as is. Otherwise, underwater swimming is a no-go. I have minor sensitivity to changing atmospheric air pressure still, and I get occasional headaches around the right side of my head. Not a bad trade-out. Honestly, OP, I feel sorry for you. It sounds like all the adults and experts in your life when you were a kid basically failed you time after time after time. If I were in your shoes, I'd probably have an aversion to doctors too. Today I effed up by starting small talk with a kind little dude on the subway. Yesterday, I got into a subway train around rush hour, so it was quite packed. I squeeze in with my brother and find a spot to stand. I notice a little dude, about 6 or 7, in the seat next to where I'm standing squish up against his mother to make room for me. He looks up and smiles, his eyes inviting me to sit down next to him. As a larger human, 6'3", almost 200 pounds, the tiny half a seat that he'd opened up wouldn't quite fit me. Though I couldn't let his kindness go unnoticed, so I decided to half cheek it, to be sure he understood what he did was really nice. As I sat down, I thanked him for making room and told him I really appreciated the gesture. We high-fived, and in hindsight, I should have ended it there. I noticed he had his backpack with him, so I asked how school was that day. He told me it was just alright. Then, I asked the fatal question, "Do you have a lot of homework over the weekend?" He let me, the stranger, know he had a big math packet that he had to get done. Unfortunately for him, his mother was listening to our conversation. Her eyes lit up when he told me about the packet. She yelled, "Oh boy, you told me you finished that yesterday. Guess who doesn't get to play his video games this weekend? You little liar." His head sunk into his chest, as did mine right along with him. A few stops later, his mom dragged him off the train by his little jacket. He looked back at me as they departed, a look that said, "Bro, I thought we were cool. How could you do me like that?" His look of betrayal is gonna haunt me for days. Hang in there, little buddy. One weekend may seem like an eternity at your age, but time flies. Today I effed up by complimenting a coworker on his weight loss. I have a coworker that works in a separate department. In my old position, we had to communicate fairly regularly, but since changing positions, I rarely see him. It's been about a year and a half since I've seen him, and I was surprised to see him in my area today. He's lost about 100 pounds, so I thought it would be a nice gesture to recognize and compliment him. I said it was good to see him again, and rather enthusiastically told him he looks great and to keep up the hard work. He responded with a cold smile, said it was nice running into me, and just continued walking. We aren't incredibly close, but we usually stop for small talk, which I was completely expecting as I awkwardly stood in the hallway. When I got back to the office, I brought up the weight loss to my office mate and said our coworker really looked great and he was inspiring. My office mate somberly responded that he was diagnosed with cancer and has been losing the weight loss because of that. Whoops. Today I effed up buying my son's Halloween candy away from him. My kids go trick-or-treating. We live in a great candy neighborhood, so every year they come home with 100 to 200 pieces. When they're young, we tell them Santa brings every boy and girl a present on Halloween, and the more candy you leave him, the better present he'd leave in exchange. When the kids get old enough to realize Santa is a hoax, that's when we start paying in cash. 25 cents per piece. Did this with our oldest too, and it worked great. They'd give up about 3/4 of their candy and buy a toy. Our third kid is 8 this year, so called us out on the Santa thing. We explained the new deal. He said, "So then, it's my money and I can buy whatever I want with it? A new skateboard even? Anything?" "You bet." "Swear?" "Yep." He goes and brings us all his candy, even every Kit Kat, his favorite. I was shocked, but he'd been saving for a skateboard for a bit, so he must have decided to go all in to push his savings over the edge. Getting all the sugar out of his room was the best case scenario. Easiest $31.75 I'd spent all week. Next day, I brought the candy to work. Then, we went to Walmart after school and the kids ran to pick out their stuff. We met at the checkout. There's my son, who's raided the clearance aisle and found 200 Kit Kats for $10. I started to tell him to put it back, but he said, "What? You said I could buy whatever I wanted. You swore. I want my candy back then." His candy had already been eaten by my coworkers, and I did swear, and we put a lot of emphasis on the importance of keeping your word. So my son has almost twice as much candy as he would have had from just keeping his trick-or-treating, and a new skateboard. I don't know who's more pissed, my wife that this plan backfired so horrifically, or his older brothers that they never thought to do this. I feel like when this kid is 40, he's gonna be a multi-billionaire. That was rSlash Today I Effed Up. And unless you hit that like and subscribe button, you have definitely effed up.